Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about my godson Hector, his health problems, and the role that family histories have played in the diagnostic process. Hector had some moderate complications at birth that may be linked to his current condition. He's having small seizures and is almost constantly moving, which indicates that he has some sort of disorder that is affecting his central nervous system. At one point, doctors were concerned that Hector had a rare autosomal recessive genetic disorder called ataxia telangiectasia, or AT. This is when family histories became a part of the diagnostic process. Family histories have a number of different uses in treating and diagnosing illnesses, but to understand how this works, we need to briefly talk about some scientific vocabulary. Let's first start by talking about chromosomes. Chromosomes are structures within cells that are made up of DNA. DNA is made up of two strands, one that you receive from your father and one that you receive from your mother. Segments of DNA that control specific physical traits are called genes. We all have 23 pairs of chromosomes in our bodies. One of these pairs determines our biological sex. These chromosomes are referred to as sex chromosomes. The other 22 pairs of chromosomes control other traits. These chromosomes are referred to as autosomal chromosomes. This brings us back to our discussion about Hector. Because AT is an autosomal disease, it means that the disorder is found in a gene that is found in an autosomal chromosome, not a sex chromosome. Genes can form in different ways that cause different traits to be present in a person. These different forms are referred to as alleles. Each person has two alleles controlling each trait, which means when someone has a child, they pass one of those two alleles to their child. This means that for most traits, there are 4 possible combinations that could show up in a child. For the most part, each allele is considered either dominant or recessive. For a child to exhibit a trait from a dominant allele, they only need one dominant allele to be present. In contrast, for a child to exhibit a trait from a recessive allele, they need to have 2 recessive alleles, one from each parent. AT is a recessive genetic disorder. Because of this, Hector would have to have received an allele for the trait from both parents. This would suggest that others of Hector's ancestors should have some sort of history with the illness. This is a pedigree showing a typical recessive genetic disorder. Notice that people can be carriers of the disease without displaying the disease. This is clear in the case of parents 8 and 9 who have a child displaying the disease, though neither of them had the disease. This means that parents 8 and 9 both had one recessive and one dominant allele for the trait, meaning that they could pass on the trait, but they did not display the trait. This is Hector's father's pedigree, and here is his mother's pedigree. As you can see, no one on their family has displayed the disease before. Along with testing, this evidence allowed doctors to safely conclude that the disease was not genetic, because even though it is technically possible that the disease could have been passed down through generations through carriers alone, it is very unlikely that it would make it so many generations without showing up in a single person. This use of family histories has helped doctors to narrow the pool of possible diseases that Hector could have, but this is not the only way that they have used family histories to help Hector. Doctors have concluded that Hector has a lysosomal storage disease. His family has decided to try to find a stem cell donor for a hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. This is where cells from one human being are transferred to another to try to increase production of healthy cells. Family histories have also provided insight into who might be the most suitable donor. A donor has to have alleles that closely match the patient's alleles that control substances called antigens that exist on the surface of body cells. From this pedigree, doctors were able to see that Hector's cousin Annalise had a very similar allele combination to Hector's. Only one antigen group was different. Thanks to this finding, there is still hope that Hector will be able to get the treatment he needs. Through family histories, doctors can more easily come to a patient's diagnosis and identify possible treatment options. While many think that family history is just about understanding the personal lives of our ancestors, its use in medicine continues to improve diagnosis and treatments for patients in miraculous ways.